the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry, and I believe the longest person to have to wait for her official induction. Today on the Music Universe podcast. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Well, we both asked it at the same time. We're doing pretty good. Where did we just get back from, and where did you just get back from?
Well, we just got back from Vegas last week, as well as 4 days after I went to Vegas, I ended up leaving to Missouri to see family. So I'm back from that, and I'm tired. A lot of traveling. I never travel, but I'm traveling so much, it seems, because another Vegas trip is just on the horizon for the Big Garth Show.
Yes, it is. This trip that we were just in Vegas for was actually my 9th trip to Las Vegas, putting me over the hump for what I thought was going to be a really cool number. Because when we go last year, when Garth was supposed to happen before everything hit, it was going to be my 8th trip to Vegas and my 10th full band Garth concert. And that adds up to 18. And for those of you who know Gunslinger, that's an important number for Garth, 18, which is not a multiple of 7, but I digress. Today is about the newest member of the Grand Ole Opry, Rhonda Vincent. I'm so excited. I was traveling back from Vegas and you got to talk to her. How did it go?
Oh, she's sweet as always. This time we did Zoom. I know last year when we interviewed her, everybody was on lockdown. Zoom was not quite introduced as much as it is now, so that was via phone. But during the lockdown, she had a chance to record music, is what I see now. I say she had a chance to record it because she actually started in 2019. So it's quite a lengthy process for this album to get released. And, she tells a story about songs that she went back and revisited. Really, really sweet, and some really neat stories. My favorite story, though, is about the Grand Ole Opry flood. And it actually, is a bittersweet moment because everybody knows 12 years ago now that flood just destroyed Nashville and a lot of music history. But she tells a really chilling, and I'm now talking about it, story about something that surrounds her with that.
Well, let's listen to it. Here's Rhonda Vincent.
Rhonda Vincent, welcome once again to the Music Universe podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Very exciting new music, and great to be here.
Well, we appreciate you joining us once again. This time, you're actually officially a Grand Ole Opry member. I know last time it got delayed. We chatted with you after you were invited, but with everything going on, obviously, we couldn't see your induction. So congrats on that. What does that feel like to now be an official member?
Well, sometimes it doesn't, it's such a lifelong dream. It's hard to really wrap your head around and say, am I really a member? It's that fear, it's like, maybe it's not true. But then luckily I have the statue. I can go downstairs and look, and it's like, it is true. I'm just so thankful. And, I've been doing the Opry quite a bit, quite often, almost every other week. So I'm waiting for the time I can walk into the Opry and perform on there, and it's so weird to hear them say, and please welcome Grand Ole Opry star Rhonda Vincent. It's like, that's me. So I'm still waiting to really fully grasp. So it's like, yes, I'm a Grand Ole Opry member.
Well, it's well deserved. We're glad to see you're finally a member, and you're representing bluegrass extremely well.
Thank you.
So the new album, as you mentioned, is Music Is What I See, and that was actually delayed by the pandemic, right?
2 years in the making, because we had started it before, and then this long gap being at home and not really working on it, and then there was the unknown. It's like, okay, I'm not working on it because I don't, first of all, I'm not in Nashville. I live in Missouri, and so we're quarantined. But then it's like, okay, when would we release this? Because the plan was that my induction, which was not until 343 days later, I think, something like that. And then it still wasn't finished because of the unknowns, I guess. But
Right.
So glad, 2 years in the making. And it's been really fun that having that much time to work on it. you can really perfect a lot of things that maybe I'd never spent that much time on an album. The song Unchained Melody, which I think is the very first bluegrass recorded version of that song. I spent 12 hours just singing that. So
Wow.
it's such a challenging song. But
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled now that I got to, it gave us it was kind of a luxury to be able to spend this much time on a project. So I'm so proud of this project. It showcases my band, The Rage. I purposely wanted to do some hard drive and bluegrass. It weaves in, the Grand Ole Opry thread. Jeannie Seeley, who wrote the new song, her and Aaron Enderlin and Bobby Tomberlin, Like I Could. And then we have Porter Wagner. It starts off with Porter Wagner's song that he wrote in 1972. And I think it's perfect for this day and time. It says, what ain't to be just might happen. And then there's a Webb Pierce song also. So there's new and there's old classics, but just all weaving it together, gospel songs, and hopefully something for everyone.
Wow, it's definitely amazing of all just the influences that you have, and then now that you're influencing a new crop of musicians. But did you record, since you were on lockdown, did you go back in and decide, you know what, I'm going to do this and do it while we were isolated? And how was that a challenge if you did?
We had started it, the year before. However, the bulk of it was done in May of 2020. And the band and we hadn't been together for 2 months or so. And my fiddle player, he told me this afterwards, but he said, when I called and I said, hey, I want to record, he said in his mind, he thought, this is the worst idea that you have ever had, because we hadn't been playing. There's a fluidness that you have when you're on a roll and you've been playing. And so he thought it was just a terrible idea. But instead, we get together. Everyone was so rejuvenated by getting to see each other and getting to play again, that I think that's something else that we captured on this, that we could not have gotten any other way. It's because we hadn't seen each other, and they were just so excited to play. That energy, I think, comes through on this project.
Yeah. Now, was it most people may not understand this, but was it a live record, so to speak? You guys track everything or do it live?
We tracked it live. There were overdubs though. I then took it to my place and because I have just a single setup for a single person to record. So yeah, we basically tracked for 2 days with the band, and we had tracked previously. So taking all of that and then took it to my house, and that also gave us a lot of studios weren't open. So it's nice that I had a place like that to be able to go to and to finish the recording.
Yeah, I know people have been eager to hear new music from everybody. I know a lot has been recorded during that time. Are we going to possibly see you on the road maybe later this year?
If we get to July 1st without any cancellations, which we haven't had any for a while now, in fact, 2022, we're already looking towards 2023. And I love that's already ramping up. If we get to July 1st, we'll be back to a normal schedule. So RhondaVincent.com, and you can find out where we're going to be, like the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, July the 8th, the Springer Mountain Farms Bluegrass Nights at the Ryman. We're at the Missouri State Fair in the Grandstand, Bluegrass in the Grandstand of the Missouri State Fair, August 19th, Bluegrass Island, where we mix bluegrass and bikinis or Speedos, whatever your choice is. So no, we're back on the road and soon to be full time.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know when we spoke about a year ago now, you were just moving into your new Lake of the Ozarks home. I am a Missouri boy. I'm from Southeast Missouri, near like Farmington. So about
Yes.
3.5 hours from you, born and raised in that area. So why Lake of the Ozarks? Why Missouri for you?
Oh, because that's my husband's favorite fishing place. His family grew up going to the Lake of the Ozarks every weekend. They had a cabin on the lake. And so before he would just go down for fishing trips. And he said, we will never own a place on the Lake of the Ozarks because we'll spend all our time working on that place and wouldn't be able to fish. And then one day he says, I want to get a place at the Lake of the Ozarks. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, you said you didn't want, we would never own a place there. And now you want to go there but anyway, we have absolutely loved it. It was a perfect place to be during all this quarantine because Missouri wasn't really ever locked down. We had no restrictions, and we were on the lake. We were fishing. We were, it was basically day to day. The only difference is we've been married 37 years. We had never spent this much of continuous time together.
Does that kind of get worrisome?
Well, it was fun at first. We're all snuggled up and I'm baking and we're fishing and we're doing Facebook lives and just it was so fun. And then, then it was, I think this is the way for everyone. So my brother's in Chicago, and they were started theme nights every night. Like it's Hawaiian night. They dressed up and they fixed Hawaiian food. And the next time, we're going to have Mexican food. And we all dress up in sombreros. This went on for a week. And then all of a sudden it's like, so I got to expect, it's like, what's the theme night tonight? And after a while, I think for everyone, it's like, okay, enough already.
Right.
In fact, my brother asked his wife, he said, have you just given up on parenting? It's like their kids were staying up till 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning and just, all chaos. And no parenting was going on, he said.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a now 11-year-old, and she was always trying to push staying up. It's like, no, you've got to, you still have class. It's virtual, but you still have class. You got to follow. But was for you then, was the, not to reflect too much on a bad year, but was 2020 kind of a reflective year for you? I know many artists, it has become that, and many are just ready to move on now.
You know what? I never really worried about it. It's like, it is what it is. And I think I looked at it more of a, what can I do? I mean, I can, what is it that I can get done? Hopefully we're going to get back to the normal schedule. So what can I do? I started doing webinars. I wasn't familiar with even what a webinar was, a Zoom webinar. And so my daughter said, you could do that. So I did a mandolin lesson. I did several of those. I did fiddle, guitar. One night I just did a jam and they joined me on, and we just jammed on Zoom. So I just tried to be creative and think of, and even before our shows are ramping up, with the album being finished, I started doing listening parties. Now that was in person, but with the restrictions, the crowd could be smaller. So it was perfect. And I think I just, had faith in God that, God's going to see us through this. He has a plan. So this is what we're going to do for now. So what do we do? At one point, my husband, because at first he said, this won't last but a month. And then he says, it'll just be a couple months. And then he's like, okay, wait a minute. He said, if this continues, we might have to restructure our lives. And luckily we did not have to do that, but just getting creative and doing different things.
Yeah, I'm sure the theme nights were fun, but like you said, would eventually get old because then you're always prepping something new and have to figure out, well, okay, how do we beat last night? Or
I know, wouldn't that be
whatever.
something? I don't think I could take that. I'm not good at that anyway. But see, that's my sister-in-law. That's her degree, is like party and entertainment. So she was perfect for that. But even she wore out after a while.
Oh, I'm sure, because it can be exhausting. So you mentioned that you're playing like the Opry almost every other weekend. How does it feel to just be able to play it like regularly, almost like a residency?
My doctor, she called me and she said, I see a confidence in you that I have never seen before. And I said, if the Opry membership didn't bring anything, it brought this. I guess it's just always trying to get this, achieve this dream, or you want that. And it's like, it's a worry you don't have to worry about anymore. I'm an Opry member. This is awesome. This is my lifelong dream. And it's just it's like, wow, they do like what I do. So it's really gives me I think a renewed, or this new confidence in what we do, and walking into the Opry and I, something that I realized, I think just last Saturday, we were there Friday and Saturday with my band for the first time in over a year, to realize that every person at the Opry brings a different style of music, and realizing that you are an integral part of this entire show, and that you bring something unique.
Yeah, Matt and I actually met back in November. We went to Nashville. We did tour the Grand Ole Opry. And I had been there before because I lived in Nashville for a couple of years. And it's just so surreal to walk through those doors. Even though you're on this tour, you get to see everybody's name. We know your nameplate. We saw like your empty nameplate. We were just waiting
Oh,
for that announcement. So it was like really
yes.
neat to be like, oh, we just chatted with her a few months ago, and here, anytime now
Oh,
she'll be inducted. So it was really neat to, go in there, and of course they see all that, and then you get to see the dressing rooms. But what was even more chilling, and I'm getting them talking about it, was the flood line. It's
oh,
because I was
yeah.
there from '06 to '08, so I just missed the flood. But just it was heartbreaking seeing that, 12 years ago now, to see how Nashville is just so flooded when you kind of consider it your adopted hometown in a way, because you love it so much. So did that, were you affected by that at all at that time? I mean, I know everybody was, but as far as like playing there regularly and that kind of being a home to you?
Well, I was sponsored by Martha White at the time. I was sponsored by them for 15 years and just recently partnered with them again. And they had a Martha White display in the front lobby that had a gold sparkly mandolin.
Mm.
And when the flood came, I assumed that we didn't know where it had gone. All that stuff was probably thrown away. A year later, I was doing a commercial for Martha White, and they said, there's a visitor that would like to come see you. And Steve Gibson came in and he said, I would like to return something to you. And he rescued my mandolin and many others. Cheryl White had a bass in a locker. He started breaking open lockers because people would leave their instruments in these lockers.
Right.
And though I think my mandolin was floating in this water. In fact, it has barnacle on there. They were going to get it refinished and decided just to leave it. They basically dried it out and left it. And I said, I'm so glad that you did not touch that. There's barnacle on that from the flood, and it's like that will forever stay like that as a reminder of the flood and in honor of the Opry. So I had a very, very personal item that was in there that was like surprisingly recovered.
That's an amazing story, because you wouldn't think something made of wood like that would last through something, especially a year later. Did it just take them that long to rescue, or not rescue, but take that long to dry everything out and return it?
I think they gathered everything, and then I think just getting through everything and figuring out who the owners were, because see, my name would not have been on there. I'm sure they had to go back and research. Okay, we have this. Whose is this? I mean, I assume so, but it was a year. I'm thinking he probably gathered everything, not knowing whose was what. And then when they finally they got everything settled down, got everything dried out, and it was probably a process that they did.
Yeah, and I bet to you, you probably just, like you said, you thought it was lost and never thought anything else of it, right?
I had no idea. I mean, after a year, I'd completely forgotten about it. I thought it was obviously destroyed. I mean, so many people lost every piece of their gear. There were trailers, there were 18 wheelers full of gear. Brad Paisley, Keith Urban, there were vintage guitars and all of these, and they were simply lost. That was right by the river where that was the storage place. So it was by the river. Those literally floated away, who knows where.
Wow, that's such a
So I
remarkable
mean, for
story.
that to be recovered is very remarkable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where's that mandolin reside right now?
It's at my house.
Where it'll forever stay, I bet.
I have toyed with the thought of donating it to the Bluegrass Museum. I may at some point. It either needs to go to the Opry, maybe it needs to go to the Grand Ole Opry Archives.
There you go.
I gave him the dress that I wore. I only wore it on the Opry induction. It was made by a New York designer, Constance McCardle. So she made me this special dress. And then it was the debate on because I loved it and it was so beautiful, do I wear it the rest of the year? And then my daughter said, no, that is a special dress. So it was donated to the Opry. So they have the dress. Like maybe that mandolin needs to go there too.
No, that's something to see for sure. Well, hopefully I'll get back to Nashville at some point, and that'll be there for everybody to see, because that's just history right there on both
Yes.
accounts.
Well, let me know when you get here.
Oh, absolutely. I know Matt's always up to traveling. He's in DC, and he kind of, between him and my daughter, pulled my leg to hop on a plane 2 weeks into, or at the end of November, like, hey, give me a 2-week notice. So I'm not going to say never, because I've said never, and
Yeah.
it works out the opposite.
Right. My
Well,
great grandmother said, never say never. That's
I'm totally learning that, especially with kids and
yep.
Matt. So what, before we wrap up, what most are you looking forward to when you get back on the road?
Have a new musician, a new guitar player, Zach Arnold, and he, just the few shows we've done with him, he's a young guy. He's only 20. So
Wow.
we have having a new person that is so young, and he is so ultra talented. He has an amazing voice, and he has brought a new dimension to our vocals. And I am so excited to get on the road consistently. You know, it's really like we do one show and another one there. You can't really get a rhythm into what we're doing, and it's hard to learn songs if you just sing them one night and you don't sing them again over and over. So I am very excited about this group, even though they're so awesome anyway, but really getting that experience and that playing time together to really solidify their talent. And so I'm looking forward to that. Just performing. I mean, it's exciting to have this new music coming out. And now my goal for myself, I had one. There's a song called "I Ain't Been Nowhere," the quarantine song that's on this album. And my goal was to learn the words to that song. There's 392 words. And I thought I will never, ever be able to memorize this. Just recently, I sang it on the Grand Ole Opry, and I remembered I was able to memorize it and sing every word. My next goal is to memorize, to be able to, I think I know most of the words, but Unchained Melody is so challenging that I need to really, I need to sing it several times to get the breathing pattern, because you have long notes. It's just so challenging in the breathing pattern. So I'm anxious to learn that and be able to stand on the Opry stage and sing Unchained Melody. That's my next personal goal anyway.
Well, I'm sure you'll achieve that. Now, on the quarantine song, is that something you wrote?
Chuck Mead wrote that. He took the song "I've Been Everywhere" and rewrote that. So I heard him do it, and I said, I have got to do a bluegrass version of this.
When you are on the road, how many shows typically do you play a year?
We usually do 140, which equates to like 180 days or 200 and some days on the road. So we're usually on the road a lot. You know, depends on how they're routed, but
well,
I'm thinking we might have 100 this year. I haven't really counted them up, but I do know next year is 2022 is really ramped up already. We just booked a job for October of 2022, and we haven't even got to October here yet.
Wow. That's amazing. But it's got to feel great that you know that it's back. We'll just say it's back.
Yes. Oh yeah. 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 I like knowing we already have, you know, our bookings for the next year.
Yeah, that's got to be peace of mind for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Rhonda, is there anything else that you would like to add?
I just invite you to go to rhondavincent.com and check out there are tour schedules there, a message board. You can send us a message, and there's something you can only get at rhondavincent.com or at our shows. Some people don't have a CD in their car, and so we got and they say get USB drive, and so I have a replica of my mandolin. It's a little mandolin USB drive, and it's so cute.
Oh, cool.
So check that out. Check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with technology these days.
I know.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much.
Hearing that she received that mandolin back, and they were going to, I guess, fix it up and, you know, make it pretty again. And then she just was like, I'm glad you didn't. It is part of history now. Again, is the way you can look at it, because she couldn't believe it. I can't even believe, you know, something is lost for a year and then it's suddenly returned to you, out of sight, out of mind type thing. And there's a lot of history. So it'd be really neat to head back to the Opry someday and hopefully see that on display, like she may end up allowing.
I love that. You know, Queen of Bluegrass, newest member of the Grand Ole Opry, new music. Lots of things are happening for her. And I think we're going to see that as time goes on. The people who took advantage of the pandemic to record and be creative and just, no pun intended, isolate themselves and work on their art like she did. I think we're going to see really big results from it. And I'm so happy, not only that she got to be inducted, but that she got to be inducted with a full crowd at the Opry House. And kudos to the Opry for not saying, no, we got to push this through because it's part of our PR as part of the pandemic, that even though we don't have a crowd, we're still appointing new members, we're still inducting them. No, she deserved, as every Opry member does, the full court press of what an Opry induction looks like. And I've been following it on Instagram and on their Facebook and on their Twitter, and she just couldn't have been happier, it looks like. So all good things for Rhonda.
Well, I mean, plus she said she's been playing there like every other week.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost like she's a resident artist there too. And so like I told her, it's well deserved. Super happy for her. She's a Missouri girl too. And looking forward to hopefully seeing her on the road. Because as she said, she's already got, some dates booked for this year, but 2022 is really already beefed up quite a bit.
Love it. All right. For the Music Universe podcast, I'm Matt.
And buddy, thanks for listening or watching. Keep checking us out at themusicuniverse.com and subscribe at tmupod.com and check us out on socials. Take care.